All right, this is the first interview that we've ever done via Skype, and we're going to see how it works out. So far, so good, because I can see Beto, Beto can see me, former presidential candidate, former U.S. representative from Texas 16th District, Beto O'Rourke's on with us. Good morning, Beto.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
So I want to talk a little bit about the new president. What can you tell us about President Biden? You shared a debate stage with him. Tell us a little bit about Joe Biden.
Yeah, I shared a debate stage with him. Maybe just as importantly, I shared a Whataburger with him in Dallas on the eve of the Texas primary. He ordered a number 2, cheese, no tomatoes, got a vanilla shake, ate the whole thing. And kind of this is testament to his character. Really wanted to meet and talk to everyone in that Whataburger, everyone behind the counter, everyone who'd prepared his food. Politely and graciously had dinner with my wife, Amy, and me. Found out my son, Ulysses, had his same birthday and insisted on calling him on the phone. And the whole time, Buzz, I'm thinking, because I kind of know how this stuff works, like his handlers are going to get him out of here. He's got to fly somewhere else. He's checked the box. He can move on. And he stayed with us for, the whole meal and then afterwards and almost had to be kind of dragged out of that place, not because he was with us, but that's just who he is. He genuinely likes being with people and is curious about their lives. And I think having someone in the White House now who's focused not so much on himself, but on all of us, who really wants to heal this country and make us better, literally, as hundreds of thousands of Americans are dying, and who's taking this incredibly quick, urgent action on getting money and relief to people who are without jobs and trying to get this country moving in the right direction again. I'm pretty hopeful. And Buzz, I knew this was coming. I knew he'd be sworn in on the 20th, but I felt so much better than I expected to. This huge relief and kind of weight off of my shoulders, and then this real sense of hope. So these are some of the things that I'm thinking about now in the first couple of days of his administration. We have a really good man in the White House.
How close on January 6th, realistically, did we come to losing our democracy? I mean, how could it have gone away where Donald Trump, the vote went to Congress or whatever, and Donald Trump remained as president? Do you feel like we missed it by a hair's breadth, or do you think democracy would have found some way to preserve itself?
It's not over. There's a lot of gratitude on everyone's part, especially those of us who love our Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, that no member of Congress was harmed or zip-tied or, executed, which I think was certainly part of the plan. Grateful that Mike Pence was not hung, and grateful that ultimately that attack was repulsed. The first successful breach of the Capitol since the War of 1812. But I think, Buzz, we'd be naive to assume that it was a singular attempt and that it is now over because, they've rounded up a lot of them. They're going to be tried. Hopefully, full weight of the law will ensure that they serve a sentence commensurate with their crimes. This stuff preceded January 6th, the big lie that Trump had actually won the election, that there was rigged vote counting, that they sent the wrong electors, et cetera, et cetera. A big lie only made possible because it was also perpetrated by those in positions of public trust in the Senate and the United States House of Representatives who were complicit in this, and none more so than our junior Senator Ted Cruz. And if there are no consequences for them, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Mo Brooks in the House, others who tried to overturn a lawfully, democratically, legally decided election, then Buzz, I think it will have set the precedent that you can do this stuff scot-free. And this hole that has been torn in our democracy on the 6th, before the 6th, continuing after the 6th, one of these guys is going to try to walk right through that into the presidency. And so I think that the threat is still there. I think some really urgent work needs to be done to repair that. And then we've got to strengthen our system. As you probably know, there's actually no formal process for the victor to be declared in a presidential election. The norm for 245 years is that the loser concedes. He says, you know what? We fought the good fight. Al Gore, after the Supreme Court decision in 2000, says, I could continue to fight this stuff, but for the good of the country, I'm going to relent. George W. Bush, make us proud. This is the first time that I know of that the loser doesn't concede, that you had the specter of maybe an alternate set of electors being sent to Congress, and perhaps the Congress overturning the will of the people. So there's an election reform right there that we might want to start working on. So I'm glad that the 6th was not worse. I'm sorry that 5 people had to lose their lives. But I think there's some work we can do to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Every time there's a State of the Union, we're told the State of the Union is strong. But it also seems like democracy, we've had it good for over 200 years, but it's this fragile thing. I think people think that it can withstand anything, but we've got to be very careful with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you realize when you step back or when democracy is threatened like this, that in your words, Buzz, it is a very fragile thing, and it's also a very extraordinary thing. This is the exception, not the rule on planet Earth right now, and it's the exception, not the rule in human history. You had, 2,500 years ago, the flourishing of the first democracy in Athens, and then it went dark for a couple of millennia until we picked up the torch in 1776. And más o menos, we've made this thing work for 245 years. I think some would argue, and I'd agree with them, we really didn't become a democracy until 1965 with the signing of the Voting Rights Act, when black people, especially in Texas, could finally vote. Prior to that, in the states of the former Confederacy, that really wasn't the case. It was a democracy for white people. But 55 years, 245 years, however you want to count it, this is pretty special. And as imperfect as the U.S. might be, it's the best thing going. And we are so good because we have this extraordinary capacity to peacefully decide the course that we're going to take and to peacefully resolve the differences between us and to peacefully transfer power from one president to another. I don't know if you and I talked about this in 2016, but I took a lot of grief from a lot of El Pasoans for attending Donald Trump's inauguration in January of 2017. How could you go? This guy's been maligning El Paso, the stuff he says about women. He's calling Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals. I said, look, all that is true. And I go not to celebrate the man, but to celebrate the fact that we can still pull this thing off. That this man, Barack Obama, who just about killed himself for 8 years trying to move the country in one direction, is going to willingly and peacefully, and he'll be present on the stage with Donald Trump, hand power over to this guy who's vowing to destroy everything that he just built. I don't support Donald Trump, but I support the fact that we can pull this off. In many other parts of the world, this would be handled at the end of a gun, or it wouldn't be handled at all. Somebody would just stay in power for 30 or 40 years. So you're right. This is something so special, and it's not going to roll of its own accord. We have to fight to make sure that it continues to work. And so some dark days for sure for those who love democracy, but also I can't think of a more important time to be alive and to be an American when our very democracy is on the line. If you love this stuff, fight for this stuff. And be a Republican, an independent, a Democrat. The partisan part of this I don't care about. I just want to make sure that this system in our country works.
In reference to the story about you attending Donald Trump's inauguration, you seemed offended, personally offended, that Ted Cruz was in attendance for Joe Biden's inauguration. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I just don't think this guy gets to wash off the stain of sedition. On Twitter, he's snapping pictures of, hey, J-Lo singing the anthem. There's Garth Brooks and there's Biden being sworn in. God bless America. No way, man. You fanned the flames of insurrection. You helped to incite the plotters of that coup. You were going to do everything in your power to overturn that election. You offered to Donald Trump to be his advocate in front of the Supreme Court with our Attorney General, Ken Paxton in Texas's lawsuit to overturn the election. Even after the storming of the Capitol, you took to the Senate floor and attempted to pursue this quest, which was really cynical. You knew you weren't going to succeed. You knew that you didn't have the votes in the Senate, but you thought you could lock up the support of the 7 million plus Trump voters or 70 million plus Trump voters in America. And so in this incredibly self-serving, seditious act, I really think you sealed your fate. And I don't think you get to go celebrate the peaceful transfer of power that you did so much to try to interrupt or even overturn or overthrow. Buzz, I just saw the headline this morning. I haven't read the article, but it looks like some of his colleagues have filed an ethics charge against him. As you know, they also have the power to expel him. And some would argue there's a section of the 14th Amendment passed after the Civil War that says that anybody who was involved in insurrection against the government of the United States of America can't hold one of these positions of public trust like a Senate seat. So I hope that our country comes through on this one. The El Paso Times, the Houston Chronicle, the San Antonio Express News, the 3 papers of record for 3 of the biggest cities in Texas have all called for his resignation. This is really unprecedented, and I hope that means that he's going to be held to account.
Well, I think the big thing with Senator Cruz is, Donald Trump may not know enough about the Constitution or about the law to actually know that he didn't win. Ted Cruz knows enough about that stuff. That's one of the big things that separates those two anyway. I don't know about Josh Hawley, but of all people, Ted Cruz knows better.
Absolutely. Ivy League undergrad, Ivy League law degree, Solicitor General for the state of Texas, wife is at Goldman Sachs. I mean, this guy who is now tweeting out about, if you're a union member and you're a part of the working class, I'm with you and I defend Pittsburgh over Paris. This guy is the definition of American elitism. And what he's been able to do, or at least attempt to do, is to shift shapes over the course of his political career, whichever way the wind is blowing. When he's running for the Republican nomination for president in 2016, Donald Trump, in Ted Cruz's words, is a pathological liar. He's a mortal danger to this country. This guy, Donald Trump, who insults his wife, who claims that Cruz's dad helped to assassinate JFK. Yep. Cruz then turns around and becomes Trump's biggest advocate, his best translator to the people of Texas, and goes so far as to commit sedition on behalf of the outgoing president. So, yeah, this guy is pretty he's singular. We haven't seen anything like him in American politics in my lifetime.
So according to the Texas Democratic Party Chairman Gil Hinoso, he says, Beto, you are thinking about a challenge to Governor Greg Abbott in 2022. I don't expect you to make any kind of announcement on a regional radio show, but the story here says O'Rourke could not be reached for comment. And I was thinking, oh, well, I've reached him. Maybe he'll comment to us.
You've got my Skype number now. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you know what? It's something I'm going to think about. This state has suffered perhaps more than any other in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of the worst recession since the Great Depression. And it is particularly galling to me and to you and everyone who's listening to this that El Paso, in one of the hardest hit states, was, if not is, the hardest hit city. So many people dying so quickly that you set up 10 mobile morgues. You have to call in the National Guard to move the dead bodies. And you have a complete indifference on the part of Governor Greg Abbott to what local leadership, including our county judge, Judge Samaniego, are trying to do to literally save the lives of the people in our lives. Buzz, I have a very good friend, somebody that I met 20 years ago when I first got into politics, supported me. We just became super close, got to know his story, Korea-era veteran, beautiful family, died alone in a hospital bed in Providence Hospital. He doesn't have a cell phone. His family wasn't able to come in because of COVID and how packed that hospital was. And for this hero who put his life on the line for all of us at the Chosin Reservoir in Korea to die alone this way, yeah, that gets me. And I want to make sure we have someone in the highest office in our state who's going to make sure that all of us are okay, and especially those communities that so often don't get the resources or attention or the help like El Paso. So whether I'm a candidate for governor or I support someone who's a candidate for governor, I want to make sure that we have excellence in leadership, and that excellence goes to every single part of the state, including ours.
All right, Beto, thank you very much. The Skype experiment seemed to work out pretty good, so thank you for being a guinea pig for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll
Thanks
talk
for
again
having me
soon.
on.
Thank you, Beto.